Oscar adjusted his environment suit's collar for the third time in as many minutes, trying to ignore the stares from the Calrothian delegation. The crystalline palace around him hummed with bioluminescent energy, its walls pulsing in colors his human eyes could barely process. He was the first Terran to set foot on Calroth Prime, and every one of the planet's inhabitants seemed determined to remind him of that fact. The treaty negotiation chamber stretched before him like a cathedral of living glass. Oscar's role was simple: stand there, represent humanity, and don't screw up first contact. His xenolinguistics AI whispered translations through his neural implant as various Calrothian officials discussed terms in their melodic, multi-tonal language. Then she entered, and the entire room fell silent. Princess Arya moved with the fluid grace characteristic of her species, her translucent skin refracting the palace's light into rainbow cascades. She was tall, nearly 7 feet, with 4 arms adorned in ceremonial metals that Oscar's database identified as iridium alloys. Her elongated head bore the crown of the royal lineage, a living organism that pulsed in sync with her heartbeat. Oscar had studied the protocols. He began the traditional bow, careful to maintain the exact 45-degree angle his briefing materials had specified. But when he raised his eyes, he found Arya frozen mid-step, her large opalescent eyes locked onto him with an expression his AI struggled to categorize. Fear? Shock? Recognition? The princess's skin shifted through a rapid sequence of colors, violet to crimson to deep amber, that sent the Calrothian attendants into visible distress. One of her 4 hands moved to her chest in what Oscar's xenopsychology training suggested was a defensive gesture. Impossible, she whispered in perfect English, her voice like wind chimes in a storm. You shouldn't exist. The lead Calrothian diplomat, Chancellor Vex, immediately stepped forward, his own skin flashing diplomatic blue. Your Radiance, perhaps we should postpone. No. Arya's voice carried absolute authority despite its tremor. I must speak with the human. Alone. The chamber erupted in protest, but Oscar found himself guided by royal guards into a private antechamber before he could fully process what was happening. The door sealed behind them with a sound like singing crystal, leaving him alone with the alien princess who looked at him as if he were a ghost. Do you know what you are? Arya asked, circling him slowly. All 4 of her hands moved in complex gestures that his AI couldn't decode. I'm a xenolinguistic specialist from Earth's... No. She stopped directly in front of him, close enough that he could see the subcutaneous patterns flowing beneath her translucent skin. I mean genetically, what you are at the molecular level. Oscar's confusion must have shown on his face, because Arya made a sound that might have been a laugh or a sob. She moved to a crystalline console and manipulated it with 3 hands, while the 4th beckoned him closer. A holographic display materialized between them, showing complex genetic sequences that made Oscar's limited biology background feel utterly inadequate. 3,000 years ago, Arya began, her voice steadier now. The Calrothian Empire spanned 47 systems. We were explorers, scientists, conquerors. My ancestor, Princess Thalaria, led an expedition to catalog pre-sentient species in what you call the Orion Arm. The hologram shifted, showing a blue-green world Oscar recognized immediately: Earth. They found primates. Clever ones, but barely using tools. By our laws, such species were protected, studied, left to develop naturally. Arya's skin darkened to a somber gray, but Thalaria broke those laws. She believed she had found something special in your ancestors' genetic code, a resilience, an adaptability that even our advanced species lacked. She interfered. Oscar felt his breath catch. What kind of interference? Genetic manipulation, acceleration of certain evolutionary pathways, introduction of specific sequences that wouldn't naturally develop for millions of years. Arya's 4 hands moved in what he now recognized as agitation. When the Empire discovered what she had done, it nearly destroyed the royal family. Thalaria was exiled, her research destroyed, and the Sol system was placed under permanent quarantine. No Calrothian has approached Earth for 3 millennia, until we developed faster-than-light travel, Oscar said quietly, pieces falling into place, until we couldn't be ignored anymore. When your species' FTL signature first registered on our sensors 2 years ago, it caused panic in the royal court. We thought it would take you millions of years to reach this level. Arya gestured at the genetic display. But when I saw you today, I understood. You carry markers, specific genetic sequences that could only have come from Thalaria's work. I've studied her forbidden research my entire life, Oscar. It's why I was chosen to lead these negotiations. Oscar stared at his own hands, suddenly seeing them differently. So humanity's rapid development, our adaptability, our survival through ice ages and catastrophes, was partially engineered by my ancestor, yes. She gave your species gifts. Enhanced neural plasticity, improved immune response, accelerated problem-solving capabilities. But she also gave you something we Calrothians lost millennia ago. She preserved your capacity for rapid evolutionary change. We became too perfect, too specialized. You remained dynamic. Is that why you looked afraid when you saw me? Arya's skin rippled through shades of blue sadness, his AI suggested. I wasn't afraid of you, Oscar. I was afraid of what you represent, proof that my family's greatest shame was also its greatest achievement. Your species shouldn't exist as you are, but you do. You're thriving, and now you stand as equals, demanding a seat at the galactic table. Oscar processed this, his mind racing. Does this change the treaty negotiations? It changes everything. Arya moved closer, her opalescent eyes reflecting his image. Because if the other species learn what you truly are, that humanity is partially our creation, it will either start a war or make you untouchable. The Calrothian Empire would have to acknowledge responsibility for your species, politically, economically, militarily. Or, Oscar asked. A small smile played at the corners of Arya's mouth. Or we keep this between us. We proceed with the treaty as planned. Humanity earns its place in the galactic community through its own merits, not as our engineered children. But know this, Oscar, I will be watching your species with great interest. Thalaria believed she was creating something wonderful. I intend to discover if she was right. Oscar extended his hand, a very human gesture. Then, let's make history, Princess. Again. Arya looked at his hand for a long moment before reaching out with one of her 4 hands to clasp it. The first deliberate physical contact between their species in 3,000 years. Yes, she said softly, let's see what humanity can truly become. As they returned to the negotiation chamber, Oscar carried a secret that would reshape everything he thought he knew about his species. But looking at Arya's determined expression, he realized she was carrying an even heavier burden, the weight of her ancestors' choice and the responsibility for what humanity might yet become. The treaty was signed that day, and neither of them mentioned what had passed between them in that crystalline room, though both knew it was only the beginning of a much longer story.